Yeah, interesting night. Very interesting night. Tonight's sleeping arrangements are a little bit different from normal. Going to be more of an experiment, I guess, now. So I think I found a good spot to camp for the night. Oh, this definitely looks like a little nature highway. A lot of tracks. But yeah, what was I saying? Oh yes, I found a good place to camp, I think. Bottom of this hill, sheltered from the wind, there's an opening. So let's get down there, do a bit of reconnaissance and see if we can find a nice spot to camp. I don't think I'm going to have a trouble finding firewood tonight because there's been a lot of forest management in the recent past. And there's a few dead standing trees as well. There's half of one. And I'm thinking I'm going to do a Siberian fire tonight just to keep warm. But let's get down the bottom of that hill and have a look, see if that's suitable. A nice little opening here. A lot of signs of wildlife. Obviously, that stream splits off into a Y. Obviously, being a water source, I might even get to see some wildlife tonight. That'd be nice. I did see a small herd of deer on the way in here, but that doesn't count because I'm not in location. But yeah, lots of firewood. Spot near the rock could be a good idea. Birchwood there, another little pile there, but obviously unfortunately with birchwood is it doesn't dry out very well. It likes to hold the moisture, so I don't think I'll be using that as the actual basis of the Siberian fire because I don't trust it, but I might process it down at least anyway and use it for the fire underneath. It's like my pseudo Siberian log fire that I make. But yeah, this is a good spot. I like this location. But yeah, an abundance, so much animal signs and track. Obviously my fire is going to probably keep them at bay anyway, but I might get lucky. I hope I get lucky. But let's have a look. At that orange thing. Or is it red? Yeah, I think it's got something to do with bait for hunting. The tree stump, the ground below it is very well trodden, and just behind that sawn off tree, there's a little hunting tower, or what's left of a hunting tower. But I'm not going to attempt jumping across the water. I've got no idea how deep it is. It does look a bit more shallow there, but if I get on one side I don't know if I want to get the other. I'll have a walk up. Starting to understand why this little location is so popular with the wildlife. Stream I've walked up a little bit further and it splits into another channel. There is a fallen down log over there, but there's so many long branches and pooky bits. I'm not going to trust myself trying to get across that because I know I'll just end up in the water. But yeah, another small channel, and ooh, another big rock is Scandinavia. Look at that. But yeah, the and. I don't know if you can see very well. There's a trail running all the way along here, little crossing point down into the shallow there, maybe even that section because it's collapsed a lot. And they come up here, and a very well trodden animal trail. Yeah, definitely a well trodden trail, this one. This punky bit of pine is proof. but they like to come through here often. Look at that. So it's not a large animal coming through, or skinny legs, take a pick. Nope. The trail continues off. It's very clear to see because the moss is downtrodden, so it leaves a little white trail of snow. Head along here a bit more. Yeah, just along the tree line basically is where they like to trundle. There's a little safe location for them. They're slightly camouflaged in the background, and they can see the opening from one side, so it's quite a safe location for them to walk. It's quite common for tracking. But I don't know, there's something that's been along here recently. Something quite large. That's definitely... Is that a 2-hoof print, do you think? With a large section on the back makes me think it could be a wild pig. I don't know if I'm far enough away from where I saw the wolf. Obviously they travelled so far, I might even see a wolf tonight. With the amount of wildlife around here, it's a possibility. So, right, as I've only got a few hours of daylight left, there's that. There's that red thing. But it's, yeah, okay. Set up the shelter and then get some firewood processed. Maybe even lunch first in between, who knows. I'm not happy with this spot, so I'm going to go check up here. That's damn handy. Big pile of deer poo. Not sure if you heard me, but there's a big pile of deer poo there. Ooh. I think these might be a bit long. Yeah. I'm not quite sure if I want the shelter shoulder height, chest height, waist height for heat conservation. As long as it's tall enough for me to sit down on or in, I can sit up in the shelter. So that there. Obviously it's going to be dug into the ground a bit. If I kneel, it gives me extra height. I can get dressed. Where are we? Right there? Oh, that's not much, is it? I might even get both of them. Wee. Frozen punky wood. Huh. Can be done with an axe head. Whoa. Oh, there's a lot of resin in that one. The resin's the dark section. Fat wood. Ooh. Always do this away from you, especially with an axe head. And try and keep your fingers as far away as possible. Fiskars do not recommend you use that end as a hammer. Down. I'm going to shorten these and bring it closer so I can have a side. Okay, low shelter it is then. And I better get a move on, it's starting to snow. Ah, come on. So much for chest height. Oh, look at that. Okay, stop snowing. Nice. It can snow when I'm done and I'm chilling out. Not now. Oh, look at the axe. Right. Right, sneaky way of getting this done. I think a notch, don't you? That side. Yeah, that's very punky. There's the bad bit. Okay. Is there room for me to That's a bit snug, but it'll, I think it'll do. I've got a bit of extra room for these to go out to the side, so I've got a bit of headroom, and obviously this being thermal reflective, probably be more effective. Where'd that pair is? Which one? That one I think's safer. Ground's not as frozen as I was expecting, so I can push these in by hand. So this next one should now tension that out. Oh, nice. Alright, so I'm trying to find out if I have to move those logs. Well, so far so good. When you're doing this sort of thing, get the end of the tent peg and find your tension spot and then push it in, because if you start at the top, you end up with a lot of slack. Might have a bit of a breeze there. Yeah, gonna have to move those logs, aren't I? Right then. Sides or middle? I'm gonna go with the sides. No, that's the middle, isn't it? They're the sides. Alright, I've got a ground sheet at least, but just fold it out over so I don't get dirty on the inside. Well, that's pressing down on my head. It's definitely laying on my head. I need to pull this up. So I have technically set this up wrong, and hopefully I've got enough tie-off points when this thing is rotated so I can lift this out. As you can see, down the middle of the tarp is a reinforced section with loops. So what I'm going to do is turn this around 90 degrees. So instead of it running down the base, it's going to run down the top centre, and then I will hopefully have something of a loop somewhere along there that I can tie out to pull the back out. Right, shaky knot tying time. I'm going to do a simple slip knot that I can take off when things get wet or cold. So cross over, bit longer, cross over, go under, over, make a little loop at the end, or I think a bite is it called. I'm going to feed it through the loop that already started, and now all I have to do is pull that string, or pull that end, and it will untie itself. There we go. I was going to have a stick underneath this if there wasn't enough room there, but we seem to be good. I can now just Yeah, I think I can definitely adjust this back one. I do love these quick release guy rope tensioners that I picked up on the internet somewhere. So easy to use. In there, I'm just under, over. I'll try to do it the other way around. Under. Just tension as normal. Lovely. Okay, not quite touching my head anymore, but there's definitely more room. But I have a plan for later. I'm not quite sure whether I'll execute that plan, but I have a plan for later. But I've got room. Worst case scenario, I can put the rucksack back here. Maybe. Oh, give me a minute. Right, shelter up. Time to process some wood. Get the fire going. I have discovered I've got a couple of little trees growing right in front of me, which is a little bit embarrassing, because I'm not going to pull them up. But I know they're going to be bloody annoying. And I need to find somewhere in amongst all of this, like a dead standing tree of reasonable size. Kind of like that bit of log that's lying on the floor there. It's about, oh, I don't know. I'm going to guess about 8 inches in diameter, about 20 centimetres, whatever. But I'm going to need about 5 of them in total, minimum. 6 will be awesome. But I may end up having to use that one as a backlog if I can't find enough, or a big enough one. So let's go dead tree hunting. Well, the woodland gods are on my side today. I've only walked in about 5 metres into the forest and I found one that's about another 5 metres away. As you can see, the top is missing. It means it's definitely dead. And there's definitely enough wood on that tree there. That's a good 10-15 metres in height. So let's get chop that bad boy down. So I'm downhill from the tree. I want it to fall towards me. Obviously when I'm not in front of it. So I'm going to cut a notch out here. So when I saw, the tree will naturally want to fall towards the bit where it's got less support. But first of all, get rid of some of these pokey limbs. Okay, should be acceptable. I hope. We'll find out. This could be a perfect example of what they call cut and run. Oh, this is going to be a lot of effort. I might have to take the jacket off. Well, it's going to happen, I know it. So I'm going to start cutting this way. The leeward side. Sorry about that. I was going to get to a certain point, and then I was going to get the camera running so we could watch it fall in the direction I wanted it to fall. I'm pushing a little bit every now and then just to see if there's any give, and there was nothing, and then a few more saws, and plop, away it went. But the good news is it fell in the direction I wanted it to. Oh, you can see the resin. Oh, there's all that's left. Some spiky bit there. You can see all the resin around the outside. All that wonderful fat wood. So yeah, what I did
So what I did after cutting that little wedge out was I sawed into there and working my way around, and then round this way as well, and then from the back, same scenario, just worked my way around and in and in and in and in, and like, yeah, I got a lot further than I realised before it went. Next job is to de-limb as much as I need, but I think I've discovered there's actually too much wood here for what I'm going to need for the night. It's not going to get that cold, and I really don't have the energy to saw up this much, so I'll go on as much as I can, and we're losing daylight fast. Have a break for a minute, cool down, and then process this and drag it back to the campsite. Oh my goodness, it's 4:15, and as you can probably tell, the sun is set. It's not dark, but the sun officially set, I think, 3:30. But I'm starting to lose light. I only managed to get 3 sections of that log cut. I ran out of energy. Come and put my hand up. It's my own fault. I did it. My bad. I skipped lunch. I was so enthusiastic about doing all this, I just didn't want to stop. So, this log, and this one is the one that I cut down from that tree. The one that's across the base is that one I pointed out earlier on that was lying in the snow. And I just dragged some logs that had been cut down already from that were laying on the floor. I'm thinking they're probably going to be a bit punky. And I weren't wrong. These two was actually one. I thought, well, if they're longer and they're punky and because they'll burn faster. See, as I rolled it back down onto this one, it snapped in half. So I've got quite a few, so we'll see what happens. This is going to be more of an experiment, I guess, now than anything else. But I am a bit concerned about the height I have underneath the logs that are lying in front. There's not much height. I need to prop these up higher. If I can find another piece of punky, I might have 2 and then make a third one so that props up a little bit higher. But as I'm losing light, so it means getting on the new headlamp and having a forage around. I haven't cut any wood, so I've only just completed doing this. I haven't cut any wood for actual cooking food and having the fire that sits underneath it. As always with me, I try to be as prepared as I possibly can. So back at the car, I have got a big bag of birch wood that's already been processed. Drag that down because that's going to be a lot less energy than sawing more wood. I don't want to cheat and pretend I've done all this hard work. I want this channel to be and my videos to be as honest as I possibly can with you. I'm just glad I brought that wood with me. So back from the car, managed to drag another log out from the forest, and I've made a little tripod. I've got 3 logs stacked up. So now the Siberian log fire definitely has a lot more ground clearance. I'm a lot happier with that. Wood from the car. I do need to process that down so I've got some kindling so I can at least get a fire started. And it's definitely dark. It's getting cloudy. The weather forecast, depending on which one you look at, says it's going to snow all night. And the other one says it snowed this afternoon when it did. And obviously if that was all it was, then I'm happy. And if it does snow tonight, I am going to need to cover the front of the shelter. Probably. The wind's still blowing where I want it to blow. Or where I was expecting it to blow, should I say. So it's so I may end up turning my thermal tarp, which is getting frosty on the inside already now, into a super shelter. I did try buy some heavyweight plastic, some heavyweight clear plastic, but I could only buy it in 100-meter rolls, and I wasn't prepared to pay that sort of money or buy that much when all I needed really was 2 meters by 2 meters. So I've got some very thin drop cloth, and even that, the smallest I could buy was 5 meters by 4 meters. So they'll come out of the bag, and I may end up with like a double glazing system on the front. And yeah, I've never had a super shelter before, but I'm not quite sure whether the Siberian fire plus super shelter is going to be too warm. But you can't complain about too warm in the winter, I think. So we shall see what happens later this evening. But yeah, I'm just about run out of energy. But it's good to be out in the forest again. Small bits there. Oh, this will be a good one. Flat already. He says. It doesn't look like much when it's out of the bag, does it? Oh, nose is dribbling, excuse me. So I think I'm going to go pick up some of those little sticks from, like, de-limbed from the tree, just so I've got a bit more kindling to get this going. Whew. So, wood processed, kindling collected, and most of the birch has frozen, or the birch bark, should I say, is frozen. So I'm hoping what little there is will get this started. If not, I'll have to use one of my little wax starter pads, which technically a fail, but it gets the fire going, so not really. So let's give this a go. I've cleared some moss out of this fireplace just so I can actually reduce the risk of starting a big fire. So let's start with the larger piece. While the resin in that is going, we'll put on some small ones. without knocking the rest of the birch bark off. Some of the birch wood as well, smaller splints. So far so good. These larger pieces of kindling are damp. That's the right word. But I'm sure they'll have a use later. So put them on the edge of the fire to dry out. There we go. Oh, two more smaller bits. I believe that's some wet pine bark. Smaller one's not that important right now. Some larger pieces. I am definitely going to need to cut one of those birch logs. I ended up chopping the smaller birch log from behind. I don't know if you can see it, look, just drying out or thawing out next to the fire, which is the main reason I did it now rather than later, because it's frozen wood. And as always, lots of smoke just as I want to do some talking. I've actually put one of those logs on the fire to try and dry out. Try and use that more than I can use the bigger stuff, because I think that'll be better for cooking dinner with, but I need to get the fire going first. But maybe putting that wet frozen one on there was not so smart. Yeah, so it's now just have a drink, relax, get the fire, having some coals, and then I can cook my dinner, which tonight is ostrich steaks. There's 3 of them. Each one is 4 ounces, 100 grams. I've got some garlic salt, or roasted garlic salt, with black pepper in it, I think. I have some remaining Jaeger mix barbecue spices, and I've got some salt and pepper as well, so I've got one on each. So different flavours. But I did bring the thermometer with me, but it's laying in the shelter at the minute, and it's currently minus 2.5. But I'm obviously dressed for the occasion because I'm not cold. If I stop moving around like I am now, my toes start to get a bit cold because of my poor circulation. And tonight's sleeping arrangements are a little bit different from normal. I have I suppose it's called an emergency sleeping bag or an emergency bivvy. So I thought if I put my sleeping mat, I've got the thin reflective underlay and my thermal, what's it called? I can't think. Give me a moment. I am a little bit tired. I'm fatigued is what I am. It's a sleeping mattress. Air mattress. So that will all go, and a sleeping bag obviously. That's all going to go into the emergency sleeping bag. And well, I've never used it before. So it's, so we'll see what happens. I mean, I can't imagine it's going to make things worse. Right, I'm going to get my drink. And I'll do something with the fire because it's going out. And I will, I'll catch up with you soon. I should do something with the fire now, actually. Looks like beef, doesn't it? Looks like cooked beef. There's one. I guess the best way to cook these is medium rare or rare. There's a lot of blood in there. Yeah, ostrich meat is supposed to have more protein than beef, I think. Or is that kangaroo? I can't remember. It's definitely got more protein than a chicken. Right, I mean with handy wipes again. Pardon me. As always, luxury pouch to the rescue. I do. Clean off the knife. The trusty Mora bushcraft. Oh, that's not frozen at least. Oh, it's a grinder. Okay. I'll put it on two of them. Where's that tissue? Oh, they're definitely cooking already. I've moved the grill down because I'm starting to lose a lot of heat and I'm getting too hungry to wait probably another half an hour. But I've turned them over and you have to admit they're looking quite good, aren't they? I think I hope actually that they're ready to eat because I am very hungry. Pink in the middle, a little bit juicy, but that's fine. That's perfect. Everybody says that, don't they? It has a flavour like turkey. Yeah, it's more like turkey, but slightly stronger. The difference between chicken and turkey, and then you've got ostrich. Oh, I don't know if it's because I'm really hungry, but damn. core, yeah. I like that. Yeah, okay. I'm going to enjoy my dinner a lot. Okay, so after probably 12 ounces of ostrich steak, I'm full up. And oh, how's that for timing? It's just started snowing. A couple of minutes ago there were blue skies. Oh, blue skies, clear skies. Blue. Right. Getting the fire to do this has been quite a struggle, because the ground is so cold, it's sucking in all the heat from the coals. I'm nearly out of that bag of wood. I've had to cut another log of the birch wood, but that's frozen and obviously freezing cold. So hopefully we're moving in the right direction now. I am drying out, as you can see here, drying out a pine log as well, just to kind of help things along. The Siberian bit is now starting to light. Even they were freezing cold, so it was just steam coming off of them. Especially the punk ones, which in number 2 and number 4. 1, 3 and 5 are the ones I chopped down, but even they're freezing cold and covered in snow. So I had to roll them down the hill, end over end. So I didn't do myself any favours. But yeah, snow. I might actually start moving my rucksack into the shelter as well, because the top has actually frozen. And I don't want too much stuff getting covered in snow if I can help it. A bit concerned about the direction because it's now into the shelter, so maybe I'll get that plastic seating out when I'm making my bedding, which is going to be the next task. I'm going to keep an eye on this for a few more minutes. Hold my thumb, sit on my hands, cross my fingers. That's what I'll do. But yeah, but so far so good. Anyway, that centre log is definitely catching fire anyway. So once that heats up, it will start throwing heat forwards because it can't go back because of the angle of the wood with a little fire reflector, which is basically 2 logs. All the heat is just blasted straight towards you. So I've done something similar in the past, but not in temperatures this cold, I think. I can't remember. But I know there were stones on the base anyway, so that helped the fire a lot. I suppose we should talk about the new headlamp. So, yeah, Rickard, if you're watching this, I folded. I got a rechargeable one. I believe it's the same as yours. But the main reason for me buying this over other rechargeable units was this has a zoom function, so I've got a lot more throw on the light so I can see at further distances. And after that night with the wolf, obviously you want to be a bit more cautious. But this lamp, I can actually, if the lithium battery dies, I can replace it with a regular single AA battery. So I have a spare one in there just in case. But on low setting, this is supposed to last for about 35 hours, I believe. But I'm pretty sure that doesn't include cold temperatures like this. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm definitely enjoying it. I suppose I have to give a tip and a nod to Roger as well, because he's got one. I got to play with his before I bought this one. So that's the back half of the Siberian log fire. As you can see, it's doing its job now. The lantern's about to run out of fuel. My fault really, I dropped it a couple of times, so I spilt most of it. I'll have a look at the temperature in a minute while we have to look around the shelter. Oh look, a little tripod. So let's just take a walk round. Through the smoke. Oh. Fire seems to be doing okay now. Oh, sorry.
So we are minus 1.8 outside and 2.5 inside. I can't imagine the log that I've been sitting on in front of the shelter is doing any favours. But yeah, so let's step back a bit so you can see it a bit more. So bed tonight, there's emergency sleeping bag, which is that orange thing, which is basically just a giant orange bin bag. Sleeping bag, you can see a black fleece blanket I've got on top. Then there's the air mattress, and then underneath that I've got the reflective, I suppose you can call it a mattress, but it's not really, it's just like a ground sheet. That's how much heat the fire's been putting out now. There is no snow in front. The shelter has, that's how much it snowed really, not much. But you can see where the top of the shelter is definitely warmer than the back. So it's doing its job. The fire is definitely heating up the shelter. Siberian fire isn't a maintenance free fire by any means, but it is probably a lot less work than having to chock on a log every half hour. Every hour maybe, I think so far. You just have to push the tips of the logs together so they're touching. If you've got an air gap, obviously the heat just goes straight through the air gap. So I think I may have to do that again in a couple of minutes. But the outside two haven't even started to burn. It's just the two in the middle, or the three in the middle, sorry. Which isn't a major problem because I'm still getting a decent amount of heat. No woolly hat, no gloves. Jackets definitely needs to be open. I could get away with taking it off, I think, but because of the intermittent snow that's coming off the trees, I'm not sure if it's actually snowing or whether it's just being annoying. So we are completely covered. As I said, the logs, I'll probably have them on the inside once I go to bed. Nice defrosted front of there. Oh, that's snowing quite hard now actually. And from behind. So I'm overdressed for inside this shelter. Get the light out of it. So it's already 9 degrees in here. I think I've only been in like as long as it's taken me to take my boots off, basically. I mean, but yeah, so definitely good night now. Good night. Oh, good morning. It's about 8:30. Very interesting night. Very interesting night. After going to bed, the fire seemed to get going into the way it started burning the way it should have burned. Obviously, with the super shelter cover over the front, the plastic over the front, the last thing I wanted to do was get out of there, crawl up to the fire, move the logs, crawl back in and backwards and forwards. So I left it. Things got very heated. Literally. The fire kind of got into its stride. The Siberian fire really went to town and pumped out some serious warmth. I remember the temperature being 32 degrees Celsius inside the shelter at one point. It was too hot to lay in the sleeping bag. It was horrific. But in a nice way. If there's such a thing.
So yeah, the reflective tarp is incredible in these situations. It does the job. It reflects the heat back in. I know I had to put my woolly hat on around 3 o'clock in the morning, because obviously that's, well, here at least anyway, that's the coldest point in the night. So I guess the fire had died down significantly by then as well. I must have dozed off a few times though. If I were to have my shelter in front of it, like close to keep warm, I would just melt. I mean, in a survival situation, you'd be great for the night. You wouldn't need a sleeping bag. And I don't think that's an exaggeration. With the super shelter cover, I'm not really convinced that thin plastic did anything other than create a vapor barrier. The emergency sleeping bag that I use as a bivvy, obviously that is, again, just thick plastic or plastic. So that's created a vapor barrier inside the sleeping bag. The sleeping bag is very wet, but not all the way through to the inside. The only saving grace I have with that is the sleeping bag has the down filling has a synthetic coating on there to make it waterproof, so it doesn't get completely destroyed. So when I get back, hang the sleeping bag up, let it dry out before I store it, put it back into storage. Whew. I was going to have a traditional Scandinavian breakfast of fruit and cheese, but the apple's frozen even inside the shelter because the food bag was on the floor and it was minus temperatures last night. The apple's frozen and the cheese isn't much better. So no, thank you. So I'm going to nibble on what's left of my trail mix. I have some hand warmers in my pockets, which are now doing a wonderful job. Yeah, so once I've warmed up and the body's woken up a little bit, I will pack up and head back and have a hot breakfast. Okay, all packed away. My best attempt at leave no trace, but with giant logs like that, it's almost impossible. Or I'm struggling. I don't want to throw them in the stream and cause trouble. As you can see, the dry bag at the top is a lot larger than it was when I arrived. It has the tarp and everything that was soaking wet is in there. Well, there's no point in me packing it away properly, because my hands will end up freezing and then they'll stop working, and they need to be hung out to dry when I return. So it's goodbye to this wonderful location. There were some deer running past this morning, or frolicking, but again, by the time I got my phone out to film them, they ran off behind the little hill, so again, I missed them. There's a wonderful winter coat on them. They're like dark grey on top. The fallow deer? Fallow or roe deer. They're stand about that high. So yeah, dark grey on top and white bellies and the white flappy tail. So, but yeah, so it was really nice to see some wildlife. Unfortunately, I'll try and find a picture or at least a small clip to show you what they look like. But just know that it's not me filming that or taking photographs. Hopefully I did catch the 2 stragglers yesterday afternoon, but we'll find out. I'm going to check back on the footage and do some editing. So yeah, now it's time to off. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. Call it OCD if you want, but it's always worth putting your tools back in any sheaths or covers that you have for them. You're never going to lose them then. Is on very frosty, cold ground, try and avoid putting the metal directly into the cold surface as well. Especially when it's very, very, very cold. Because if you were to knock them or use them a little bit too aggressively, they could snap. So when you're delimbing a tree, always work on the opposite side of the tree to you're standing, so you don't have any mishaps. If the axe does slip, it's not going to take off your leg.